newest city park, Bruton Park. I'll talk just a real short time about the history of it. I would like to recognize, though, Mayor Price for being here. We have our Assistant Director of Parks, Recreation, and Tourism for Parks, Michael Neeler. Andy Lunsford, our Superintendent of Parks. And several more representatives from Newport News, as well as the local neighborhood. One special person who helped with today's ceremony and providing the giveaways, Greg Gulling with Cunningham Game Time. Cunningham was the company that the city contracted with, provided the playground equipment behind me. It's been about a year. In fact, it's a year tomorrow that we met with the neighborhood over the course of several hours. About 40 people showed up to talk about what they'd like to see here on this, at that time, empty piece of property. Seems like pretty fast for a city job. In reality, though, I feel kind of bad because it was February 6 years ago that this project actually started. I met with Mark Bruton, who was then the president of the Bruton Recreation Association. Mark had offered through the association to the city the land, which included at that time a pool operation. The pool was not in the greatest shape, and it wasn't really practical for the city to absorb that cost. And I told Mark that, and during our conversation he said, "What about the property itself? Would you be interested?" And I said, "Well, certainly if we could get it for nothing." So Mark went about his work in talking to the Recreation Association, and one thing led to another. The community agreed that they would like to donate the property to the city, 1.2 acres. There were no strings attached. The city would be responsible for demolishing the pool and whatever followed in that light. We made, and just to kind of give you an idea, well, this hasn't really been a 6-year, and the last year we've done all the work. Right after that, when we got word that the association would donate the property, we talked to our Department of Development. They spearheaded through their real estate folks the acquisition of the property. We then talked to the Department of Engineering. The Department of Engineering had to do a Phase 1 and Phase 2 environmental study before the city would agree to accept the property. We talked to the city attorney's office. They prepared the legal documents and did the title searches to ensure that once the city obtained the property, no one could step forward and say, "Hey, that really wasn't theirs to give." We talked to the city manager. He thought it was a great idea. And then, of course, we went to city council, who also thought it was a great idea. The manager recommended it, and the city council accepted the property. Then the Department of Public Utilities showed up to remove the piping that connected the pool. And they capped it off as part of the first step in demolishing the pool, which brought in the Department of Public Works. They demolished the building, the pool, they graded the site, and eventually the parking lot that you see behind you was a Public Works project. The Department of Adult Corrections came in. They built the fencing for us. They are in the process of providing the shelter, and they're the folks you see out here on probably a weekly basis, every week or two, cutting the grass and manicuring the property. And of course, the Department of Parks, Recreation, and Tourism was involved in coordinating and working its way through the system, providing the funding through the city's capital improvement allocation to the parks. There were other departments, Department of Purchasing, which was the instrument we used to help get the playground in place. So probably in short, well, you look at us and we may get the front-end accolades for making this happen. It truly was a city project, involved a lot of your city departments and resources in making it happen. So while it sounds like it's a long time, rest assured it wasn't something that there wasn't work going on. There was work going on the entire time. I guess it's probably, at least in my mind, the way city government's supposed to work. The residents let us know that they have something and suggest something and propose something, and the city is supposed to respond since we work for the residents. And so probably, in my mind, time frame aside, a great way on a great example on how the city is supposed to work in this type of situation. Now, there were other folks involved, and I'd be remiss in not acknowledging the neighbors, those that were here, a year ago, those that started with Mr. Bruton when we met originally to talk about the property, those that are here today, certainly, and have been involved in it. And probably one particular neighbor deserves special recognition, and that's Barbara. Barbara was, and I say that, she was our neighborhood contact. She was, and when I say contact, she stayed in constant contact. I'll kind of leave it at that in a good sort of way. She was responsible for getting the word out on the planning session that we had a year ago. She was instrumental in arranging for the various flyers to go out. She was the one that came and suggested and prodded several other neighbors and certainly prodded the city to make sure that nothing slowed down, nothing fell by the wayside. She liked to have weekly updates, which really were monthly updates. And so really Barbara deserves as much credit as the city forces do in making sure this project came to fruition.
Yay,
and I guess, Barbara, would you like to say anything?
I will. Thank you all for being here. This is, I feel like such a personal triumph for me that Michael is still even talking to me. But I was
the last day.
I was quite the bee in his bonnet about getting this property to a usable space again. I know that there's a very long and wonderful family connection with this property for so many of the families in this neighborhood from the Robinson-Bruton pool days. And when that became dysfunctional, it left a terrible scar in our neighborhood because it was vacant and it fell into such disrepair and vandalism, and then there were animals being stranded in the pool because there was some water in it, and it was just gross. And it really brought down the feel of the neighborhood. When you drove through, you saw this junk, and it made it look like we didn't care. And that's not the way we feel about this neighborhood. It's a special gem in the city. It's wonderfully maintained, and now that we have this park, we can begin to have that family unity again. And we are part of the community, and we are part of the city. And to have them back us up and to provide this space for us, it's what we technically pay for, and it's wonderful that we actually have a living, breathing example of how the city works with its residents. But the key in that is that the residents have to work with the city. And so being a squeaky wheel really does get the grease. And so if any of our families have concerns about our city, all you have to do is call, and these people want to work with us. It's what their job is. But if they don't hear from us, they think everything is copacetic because they got lots of other things that they can be working on. So let's maintain the family history of Robinson-Bruton and make this place a wonderful community asset and to keep our families strong. Because in today's world, man, there's nothing more that we need than community and families working together. So thank you all for coming, and I hope you spread the word.
Thank you, Barbara. Did you want to talk on the say that on the record too? No, thank you very much, and I appreciate, really do seriously, all the help and reminders and the assistance you gave in not only last year, but throughout the months preceding that and this last year. Just a couple of acknowledgments too for today, and if anyone turned on the weather this morning, they would have seen the same forecast I did, which said at 11 o'clock, well 10:59 to be accurate, we were going to be in a deluge. So far we've been very lucky. But before we cut the ribbon, I would like to thank again, and Greg, I don't know, would you like to say anything? I certainly want to extend thank you to you and Cunningham. Okay?
I'll keep it really short.
Now, I just would like to thank Newport News just for letting us be a part of this project. And I think, more importantly, for you all that don't know, we've had just kind of a long history with Newport News, just a great business relationship, and more importantly to me, just a great friendship with the folks at Newport News Parks, and I do appreciate that. You make my job fun, easy, and just to see your passion to create great environments for the communities and for the residents of Newport News just inspires me. So thank you very much. I do appreciate it. Appreciate you.
would like to thank Susan Lineberry of our special events and Renee Pokernak, who are here and helped set up today's events. We do have folks, Mary Kaiser-Selcook, Claire Murphy from Historic Services, so if anyone is interested in the intimate details of the cemetery, they're the folks to ask. And with that said, I would like to invite Barbara, Greg, Mike Nealer, and the mayor forward to cut the ribbon.
Yay! Didn't you bring that CD?
Go to left and don't touch the thing that's wrong. Or we won't be the same.
How do we do this on 3?
Ready?
No.
1, 2, 3.
And now you can wear the sash. Miss America here. Woohoo! Do that again. I did that yesterday. Michael was already climbing out there now. First ceremonial slide. I could do a ceremonial slide.
Okay, who's going to demonstrate for the mayor?
The park ranger needs to try it out.
There is free popcorn and face painting, Susan reminded me.
Us too. We can hear that too. Look at that, that's pretty. You just like the name.
4 times.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it possible that we could move the trash can away from the entrances?
I have a, well, I imagine this trash over here is probably going to go next to the shelter, and then the other move is the dog practice.